Well, well, well. You know, you know, it's very interesting to see where this story is going to go. And, I'm just excited to see where it goes and what potential repercussions come out of this part two of Danmachi season four. If you watch my first half review of season four of Danmachi, although it wasn't like in the best quality at the time, it was like when I was just starting out my channel and everything. Um, I did talk about it and I did enjoy it to the degree of like, okay, what is gonna happen? What is gonna happen? You have Cassandra freaking giving these like hints at like, oh, it's gonna be despair, despair, despair. And it's gonna be filled with just everything probably going from bad to worse. And we see everything that transpires like literally at the end of the part one of season four with Bell versus the Juggernaut, and then everything goes on crazy as you get that insane cliffhanger to where not only is Aisha, Wealth, and the others, they're going up against the floor boss. We see how Bell and Ryu, they pretty much, thanks to the Lambtum getting, going down, went down to the lower floors. And they're pretty much done in the White Palace. And it's like, I remember my feelings going, I remember my feelings rewatching that episode, that final episode of part one. I was like, oh shit, they're screwed. How are they going to get out of this situation? And this is going to be the interesting thing about this part of season four to see is how are they going to get out of these situations that they seem hopeless. Now, I don't know if people are going to die. My guess is I just have a feeling maybe there's going to be that one person that does die, that will kick the bucket, and maybe maybe that's how, instead of everybody dying, what is it, this one person may be crucial to everybody else potentially getting out alive. And I don't know how that's gonna happen. I was rewatching season four part one again in the English dub because I am a fan of the dub for Danmachi, and I was like, who could die if there is anybody that die? My leading case is maybe Aisha. I think maybe she might do something that might sacrifice her life for the others to be alive. But regardless, this episode, man, it shows you really the despair our heroes are in. But at the same time, we end off this episode with maybe a chance that our friends, our heroes, these characters we have come to be accustomed with, they might actually find a way to get out of this situation. And everything. Now, on Bell's side of the perspective, we start the episode off straight up with, I guess, back in the time of season 1 through 3, at some point, Bell and Ice had to talk about the lower floors. I'm only guessing it had to be somewhere around season 3, probably after the end of season 3, when they were training or something like that together. And, Ice is like, listen, the lower floors, that's a whole different animal within itself. The first time you get there, you'll be overcome by like a bunch of different emotions. Pretty much saying like it's a pretty frightening place if you go there. Even people, she even goes on to say like there's sometimes I kind of lose my composure a bit, but you have to get used to it. And pretty much it's kind of this whole thing of the aspect of, in a way, it was kind of like a warning. It was a foreshadowing for when we see Bell in this episode. He's kind of pretty much thinking on his own. He's like, what the hell do I do? I hear the cries of the Juggernaut, like, just screaming out. And he even predicts, he's like, I wonder if it's maybe looking for us to kill us. Because if you remember, Jiro put the the monster obeying, controlling type of gadget on the Juggernaut, and he ended up dying for the price of it because it didn't listen. But Bell was like, well, what if it is working, and what if it is still on and it's listening to obviously Jura's final command, which was to really kill us, me and Ryu. And Yeah, and you just have it to where you see how Bell's freaking out and everything. He's like, "What do I do if I turn? If I keep walking straight, we might encounter a monster I've never dealt with before, I haven't seen." And then two, Bell's not in good shape. You have Ryu who's knocked out, so he's pretty much carrying a Ryu that's pretty much unconscious right now. He's also got broken bones in his body. He's bleeding profusely. He barely has any strength even left to stand. And you're just like, how the hell is he gonna get out of this situation? He's the main character and everything. And then you just have it to where he's like, well, if I freaking walk forward, then hold on a quick second, guys. Yeah, sorry for that. But you see that, and then he's walking with Ryu in hand, and he's just like, some there's gonna be something coming out, and then all of a sudden we see how his part of the story ends, where the Juggernaut shows up. We see the whole controlling device. It's yellow, which means it's listening in on whatever Jira's command was. And I don't know how they get out of this situation, bro. I'm going to watch till next week, but I saw that I was like, oh, frick. It's right there. The Juggernaut is there, and it's still following them. Now, personally, for me, I would have been hiding in the Lambton, and stuff like that. But I guess there's no point in hiding in there. But just to see just Bell's perspective on the situation, it's absolutely crazy because you could see like, oh no, this guy is legit afraid. And we haven't seen this type of Bell in quite a while where he's actually been genuinely afraid of a situation he's currently in. So that's kind of the whole thing. We see on the Arana side, Fells is trying to be like, well, is there something we can freaking do? Like, are they alive? Are they not dead? And then Uranus is like, well, we need to give some reinforcements. We got to do everything. But even then, doing it that way will take too damn long, and we don't have that type of time. So it seems like Fells and Uranus, they have to do something because they even make a mention of the fact that the floor boss that spawned, it spawned. And remember, everything gone to crap when, the Evilist members pretty much blew up the dungeon and destroyed floors, so then things activated a lot quicker than usual. We have it to where Hestia actually goes to Ryu's the restaurant Ryu's now a part of, and pretty much tells the other members like, yeah, my support told me that Ryu has been accused of murder and everything. And we find out that Hestia, she does not like what's going on. And, although she wants to do the thing and just wait, because she does say like, well, I have reinforcements on side, but for some reason, I just don't feel good about this. And it looks like, I guess the members of this restaurant that actually are adventurers, they're going to get involved. Now, the question is, will they get involved in the dungeon and maybe help out? We'll find out. But mostly the main premise of this episode is pretty much Aisha, Wealth, Lily, and the other adventurers pretty much taking on the boss, the boss of the floor. It's called Amis. And let me. It's literally the title of the episode. Amphisbaena. This two-headed dragon, and just from this aspect, you got this two-headed Hydra dragon type of thing. One head fires out just flames that will just kill you on contact, and then you have the other head that fires off a mist that just evaporates any magic you try to fire off. So talk about a very difficult boss. just to think of this, if this was a video game, just talk about a very difficult boss to go up against that counteracts maybe magic attacks. At the same time, it has an attack that could probably one hit KO you in one sense with its with its overbearing and overheating flames and everything. Now we find out that Aisha has fought this thing a couple of times, but reminder, she's probably been she's been with her original familia that probably took down, which again, that original familia was pretty damn strong. So kind of the whole thing there is just, well, let's hopefully we can get through this and everything. But just to think of the fact that like these characters in despair, we're in despair, and we see it to the point like, okay, we can't fight this thing. Let's get out of here and let's just make a run for it and everything. And they do, but somehow the freaking boss actually has the smarts to see that, oh, you guys are running away. I'm gonna freaking try to collapse things so I can stop, so I can create, a blockade where you can't escape and you have to fight me regardless. And you see how he just screams and everything. And then you have Cassandra again at the start of the episode was overgoing this whole prophecy of her vision about the, this despair, the disaster cometh and everything. Again, there was also some things in her phrase that also meant like there's got to be like some sort of offering or like sacrifice or something, which also makes me think like, are they gonna have to offer up something to get out of this situation? Otherwise, they're all gonna die. I don't know. It's interesting, but just to see like the fact that the boss creates this freaking cage pretty much, and that's what seems like the cage of despair is just like what my vision told me, or my premonition told me, cage of despair. And pretty much we see how Aisha, she's the only one that's kind of composed, and she looks at everybody else. Everybody's morale is broken. They're gone. They're like, oh fuck, we're all gonna die. Shoot, how are we gonna get out of this situation? And that's when Aisha starts thinking like, jeez, if only we had Bell Cornell in this party, the morale would still be high because we have him. And then that gets to the point where she's like, look at me, I'm me. Look, and it goes to show you the growth too, because in a way she has relied on Bell, and I do like this whole thing. She's like, look, I can't think about him right now. I gotta do what I gotta do and everything, and we have it to where pretty much the other parties, they know the situation they're in. And Wolf makes a good speech by saying, well, you know what? We may not have our leader, we may not have Bell, we may not have our hero, but guess what? We're gonna beat this thing, and when we get back and we meet up with him, we're gonna tell him that we beat a floor boss without him. And that just increases the morale of everybody. They start fighting and everything, and just this whole fight was executed like crazy. You have Aisha, who's pretty much fought this thing before, is telling the information to the others on just a quick known basis, like, hey, this is what this thing does, yada yada yada. You gotta avoid this, you gotta do this, to get rid of the situation and everything. And it's like everything looks like it's going relatively good. Now, the only thing is you have Cassandra pretty much in the corner, just like, how are they fighting? Why are they fighting? Why do they continue to fight? Knowing the odds are stacked against them, knowing the fact that we're all gonna die, why do they continue to fight? And there was actually one thing, I'm like, after they get out of the situation, I guarantee you, if Cassandra says, well, my premonitions were supposed to be like this, I guarantee you that at the end of this season, they're gonna be like, okay, Cassandra, we're gonna listen to your damn premonitions because your premonitions came the frick true. So yeah, they're still fighting and everything. And even though they look like they're in trouble and everything, it's absolutely crazy that, it's like, okay, they get the upper head. Then the boss changes, battle tactics and is now diving underwater. And it's like, oh gosh, this thing's diving underwater, and everything. We see how the episode, it ends up calling like, little side, helpers to help out, be a distraction. At the same time, it fires off its attacks. But it's interesting. I did like the one thing where Daphne pretty much freaking went up to freaking Cassandra and just slapped some sense into her and just like, listen, what the hell are you doing cowering behind here? If you're not gonna freaking help, then you might as well just die right now. We don't have time to deal with this. And obviously Cassandra's like, wait, why are you guys continuing to fight when the odds are stacked against you and all despair and all hope is lost? And pretty much Daphne is like, well, Jesus, we're fighting to leave. We're pretty much fighting for our lives here. And listen, she's like, look, I'm scared too. I'm afraid, probably just as much as you are. But for some reason, being amongst these guys, they're giving me the courage to continue to fight on and get and overcome this, challenge that we have. She pretty much says, hey, get up, freaking heal us. You're supposed to do your job. So help us. And guess what? Maybe your help can help us win this fight. And, the episode ends off with Cassandra pretty much realizing that, like, pretty much, I guess in a way, even knowing that, well, it's true despair pretty much. Maybe they may end up dying in this cage of despair. But if she's gonna fight, they're gonna go out fighting, with their final breaths. So she starts healing up everybody, and yeah, they have it to where they collapse the cave in on itself. They like the cave, and they got some rubble on the Hydra. So it seemingly enough, it looks like it's in place for now, so it can't dive underwater and do everything. And then plus they froze the water to create ice platforms again. So it's gonna be interesting to see. But this was a very interesting, a very good start off to the back half of season 4. I did like the ending and the opening. Interesting visuals. It seems like we see a lot of. It seems like we're gonna when Ryu eventually recovers, because it only makes sense that Bell and Ryu are gonna get out of this whole Juggernaut situation. Maybe another monster shows up out of nowhere and tries to take on the Juggernaut, and the Juggernaut is pretty much subdued for the time being. We'll find out what's going on, but it's gonna be interesting to see. But like I said, based on the opening and ending, it seems like we're gonna get some flashbacks to Ryu's former familia. And then my just prediction is this. I just have a prediction. Maybe I have a feeling that Ryu might, by the end of this series, join the Hestia Familia. I just feel like she's going to join the Hestia Familia after this. I don't know. I was watching the opening and ending. I'm like, you know what? It would make kind of sense after this whole traumatic experience for her to join the Hestia Familia. Now, I don't know if she is. I don't, I would envision she's going to go back to work at the restaurant, everything when the name charges are clear, unless these, charges got brought up to Arario and everything. Then I don't know what happens, but I just have a feeling that she will more than likely join the Hestia Familia at the end, because I guess it would make sense for her to do that, because, well, I guess it would be her way of moving on from her former familia and starting a new chapter in her life with a new familia. That, let's be honest, for all intents and purposes, all the members care about her, and they were all worried about her safety from the start of last season. So let's start off to Danmachi season 4, part 2, and I can't wait to see where it goes. Next week's episode is titled Morgue. Is titled literally Morgue and a Victim, pretty much. I'm like, okay, so I'm guessing my prediction is maybe we're going to focus more. Next week is going to focus more on Bell and Ryu's situation there. Unless I guess a character bites the dust in the battle against the floor dungeon. But I'm glad that Danmachi's back, man. This is one of my more highly anticipated animes for this Winter of Anime 2023 season, and can't wait to see where the story goes from this point on. But anyways, guys, if you guys like the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts on this week's episode of Danmachi, as well as hit the subscribe button if you want to get more Danmachi content, either anime content from Winter of Anime 2023 uploaded to the channel. Till then, guys, peace.